Good morning, you guys. And so this is going to be part two. I put out a video yesterday basically introducing my betta fish. This is Turk. And in this video, good morning. Good morning, darling. Let me turn the light up a little brighter for you guys so that you can see. I have this light that's multicolored. It has all kinds of dimming capabilities and different colors. I'm going to put it on the brightest one right now so that you guys can see him pretty well. Good morning, darling. Oh, yeah. So anyway, I put out a video yesterday basically just talking and telling you guys a little bit about the fish and his history, where he came from, how much he means to me, his personality, and his tank setup. I've had him for 6 months. That's what we discussed in yesterday's video. And in today's video, it's morning, early morning, and I just turned the lights on. He is on a routine. I turn everything dark at night so he can get some sleep, rest, whatever, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then every morning about 6, the lights come on. We do our breakfast. I told you guys a little bit about his feeding schedule yesterday. And so anyway, in this video today, we are going to talk about the illnesses that he's had in 6 months, the mistakes that I made that I had to learn from, what you can do if those illnesses or emergency situations arrive. Yesterday, I showed you guys some of the variety of foods that I feed him. And today, I'm going to show you a little bit more of my fish supply. Yesterday, we went over the different foods and his feeding schedule. I give him kind of a different variety because they kind of get bored. These are for snack. And then today, I'm going to show you guys the rest of my supplies that I keep on hand for having a betta fish. Now, listen, I know this shit is expensive, okay? And don't panic, don't freak out. You don't have to have it all at once. But it is good to have these certain supplies in your fish care kit, as you go, time goes along, each paycheck or whatever kind of budget you're on. If you're keeping a betta fish, it is good to have a supply care kit and some emergency meds on standby, okay? Just the next chance that you get, maybe order one thing at a time from Amazon or from the pet store as you can. But, when you're a new betta fish owner, you will make some mistakes. Some emergencies may arise for you. And you're going to want to be able to take care of that as quickly as possible, okay? So, we're going to have our breakfast. And I'm going to tell you guys a few things about the illnesses and how I treated those. And as you can see, the bottom of his tank, I have a layer of aqua soil. And the reason I have that on the bottom is because this started out as a planted tank. Then I have the sand layer over the top of that. This started out with aquatic plants planted that needed to be planted down into soil. That's how we started. But I explained in part 1 yesterday why I had to get rid of all that. I do still have some of those plants in jars, trying to reproduce them and grow some more. But because of the fact that I had to treat his tank with antibiotics, those aquatic plants did not like it and it was going to kill them. So I had to get them all out of there. But yeah, this is the substrate. It's aqua soil, fluval, and then a layer of sand. And as you can see, it's pretty darn clean. But this morning after his breakfast, I'm also going to you can see the dirt, poops, and, plant debris and things like that. I usually every week go ahead and skim the layer of his substrate and clean up things that don't need to be there, because that can cause bacterial infection and you don't want them to get that. So this is what I use, guys. I told you I'd show you yesterday. in the first part. Very simple. I know that people get overwhelmed when they think about fish keeping and, oh my God, trust me, I was. I didn't know a damn thing 6 months ago about fish keeping. I was terrified when I went to PetSmart and I bought all of this stuff because he came to me in this. This was his home at first. And I went out to PetSmart. I kept him for a couple weeks and I decided to go to PetSmart when I got a paycheck. Yes, it was a sacrifice. No, I don't have a lot of money, but I picked up the 5-gallon tank. I picked up this heater, which is preset to 78 degrees, but it never ever keeps it at 78. It only keeps it at about 76, and that pisses me off. It's not the best heater, but I've got the submersible heater. They really like it to be 78, between 78 and 80, but he does fine. And then I got the sponge filter. You can see that. They like low flow. See the output, just very minimal bubbles, enough to break the surface a little bit and keep it oxygenated. The sponge filter. And I'll make a third video at some point and I'll tell you guys how I cleaned that filter, what the best practices for that are so you don't ruin your good bacteria. Because as a betta fish keeper, you're going to want to build up good bacteria in this tank. So, picked up these things, you know, just your basic fish starter kit. The tank, the heater, the low flow sponge filter, the air pump, the air stone, the tubing. And I didn't start with this big light. You know, it's one thing at a time, y'all. Do what you can afford, your basics first. The substrate. They need somewhere to hide. That's what that cow skull is about. He loves to float into the eyeballs and hide. They need a couple toys, a place to hide, and plants. I had picked up some aquatic plants, but I told y'all what happened to those. These, I don't have to worry about it. They were able to take the antibiotic. They are not completely underwater. They help oxygenate the water. They make the tank look lovely. He loves to hide in the leaves and roots, and so that's fine. So those were the basics. I started with one tiny light, you know, for my plants or whatever. But I'm telling you, I was really freaked out when I first picked up all this stuff. And I also had to go to YouTube every day. Like, how do I do this? How do I set this up? Oh my God, what if I screw it up? You can do it, okay? Follow YouTube videos, people that know what they're talking about, and you'll learn as you go, okay? So I'm about to give my boy his breakfast, but I just want to show you guys a little bit more of my setup and what's going on here. And then secondly, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to need some huge vacuum to pump out his tank. And it's going to be all this water removal and it's going to be so overwhelming. It's not. This is a simple, cheap plastic suction that I got off Amazon, and it works beautifully to just go over the surface of the substrate, pick up poops and debris, squirt it into there and dump it, and replace the water that I take out after it has been treated with that stuff. See? It's really simple. It's really not overwhelming, but it will be at first, okay? So just deep breath. Watch videos of people who know what they're talking about. The highest thing I recommend is research, research, research. I spent the first 2 straight months of owning my fish researching and listening all day, every day, at work, in the car, to betta fish keepers and knowledge about betta fish, okay, and best practices. All right, so I'm going to get my boy I'm going to put you guys down a second, okay? I'll try to point you towards the tank where you can see him getting his breakfast. I'm sorry, I don't have the best filming setup. But stick around because I'm going to give you guys some valuable information in a second. I just need to get my hungry boy his breakfast. There he is. Okay. He gets very excited. Come on, darling. I'll try to keep it within view of the camera. He gets so excited when he knows it's breakfast time. Yes. Good morning, darling. Good morning. And no, I do not just dump. I'm very careful about how much I feed him because you can overfeed them and it can make them sick. I give him 6 to 8 pellets in the morning. Here you go, buddy. Yeah, it's breakfast time. It's breakfast time. And that's how we do that. There you go, darling. There you go, BG. Good morning, BG. Did you sleep well? There's another one that's floating over your head. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. He's usually super zoomy when it's breakfast time. He gets the zoomies just like a dog or a cat. Anyway, let's get on with the video. Okay, so I told myself I'd get straight to the point in this one and give you guys the information that you want or that will be valuable and helpful to you. So the first thing, let's see, I've told you guys my basic setup. I've told you guys, what on earth is he doing? He's acting weird. Oh, Lord, don't tell me we're getting weird again. We just went through illness a couple months back, and he's been doing beautifully. What are you doing down there, dude? You almost flipped yourself over. Get on up here, boy. There you go. Get active. That's my boy. He's usually very active, very fast, very curious. And you'll get to know your fish. Pay attention to him. Learn all you can. And you'll know when he's acting strange, he or she. You will know that something is off. And the number one thing I'm going to tell you with any illness whatsoever is if you notice your fish is acting off, the best thing to do is immediately get them out of this tank. Get them out and get them into a hospital tank. So I always recommend hold on to a tank about this size or larger if you want, but I do understand being broke. I do understand budgets. You know, there's always going to be trolls and people who bash you and criticize you and to hell with them. Do what you can. But always keep a backup. Okay, keep a tank, a bowl, a jar about this size. Always, always. And I'm glad I didn't get rid of this because it has come in very useful for me. So I do have a short video here on the channel about when he got ammonia poisoning and kind of how I saved him from that. That was one of our first problems. Having to learn about, keeping the bacteria balanced in your tank, the good bacteria, and what you will want to keep on hand for that, for making sure that your water is balanced and there isn't too much ammonia. You'll want to have some of these on hand, okay? Now, some people like to, keep a check on the pH balance and the hardness and all these other things, and that's okay too. I do test that occasionally, but I don't sit up and drive myself crazy over all this shit, y'all. Now that my tank has been established for so many months and I've had to go through so much learning with my fish, I'm okay. I know what to look for and I watch him, but these are handy. And I do occasionally, I used to test his water sometimes every freaking day if I was worried. But about once a week. I got to the point where I would test it, and then finally I've tapered off to about once a month because I know my fish. I know the signs to look for now. I know that his tank is well balanced, but have these on hand. Test your tank for, ammonia. Buddy, are you having trouble like turning your fins? What is going on here? Clamped fins are another sign of illness, you guys. We're going to get into talking about that in a minute, okay? What some of the signs of illness are. If they're fins, like, see, he just released his dorsal. I forget what all the names are. Forgive my ignorance. He just released those front arm fins down. But if they're keeping those really clamped to their body and they start doing this twitchy, see what he was doing a minute ago, and it had me worried, kind of twitching to the side and twitching to the side. You'll get to know your fish. If they do that too long, they're getting sick. Something might be wrong. Could be ammonia poisoning, could be bacterial infection. I am not a professional or an expert, so please do your research. Listen to all. It will help you to know about the basic infections that fish get, what symptoms to look for. Anyway, I have these on hand, but one time he did nearly get ammonia poisoning. This is when I was still pretty novice, and I don't remember what the hell was causing it because I told y'all in part one, I started this tank. I had 2 nearite snails in here with him, and that's 3 livestock in a small 5-gallon tank, and I knew it was probably overloading the bio load. But I had already put them in, and I didn't have the setup to move the snails at that point. And I had the tank very dirty. I was trying to follow the father fish method. I had all kinds of dirty leaves, and I've got videos of my early tank, dirty, decaying leaves, and I had a lot of aquatic plants in the bottom, and that's okay. Planted tanks are beautiful, but my tank got the bio load, it just got overloaded, okay? And my fish ended up getting a bad bacterial infection. It was too many livestock in one tank, and I think I let it go one time for a little bit too long without cleaning the bottom. I was novice, and I thought, well, I didn't know at first. I was like, oh, well, that can really stress the fish if I change their water too frequently, and if I take out the dirty stuff, what are my snails going to eat? And, I was trying to, that whole father fish thing of creating this self-sustaining ecosystem. And so I wanted to let it get kind of dirty. But listen here, my fish almost fucking died. Father fish knows what he's talking about, but that's only if you follow his method to the letter. You can't take it and improvise it or half-ass it or do it your way. And that's kind of what was going on here, okay? And so it did not work out well for me. Now, there's nothing wrong with, I'm going to put a few more plants back in here soon. Having a planted tank is fine. But keeping all that dirty leaf debris and litter in the bottom, it just didn't work out well for me. And the snails, I ended up having to move them, but that's another story, okay? Now that my boy is in this 5-gallon all by himself, the bio load is not nearly as hard on him, and he is not nearly at the risk he was of getting ammonia poisoning, bacterial infection, and the tank can go a bit longer without being cleaned, but I still clean it. I never go longer than 2 weeks without siphoning his substrate, cleaning these things, and I'll do a video about how I do those things at some point, because you need to clean these things safely so that you don't destroy bacteria or get them contaminated with chlorine water. You want to clean them with old fish water. I know, water that comes out of this tank and your sponge, but I'll do another video about that at some point. So, but yes, so he's doing much better the last few months since he's been in there all by himself. The bio load is not too heavy. I still siphon him out at least once every 2 weeks, and I replace about 25-30% of his water at that point. I never Change all of the water. You don't have to do that. In fact, don't do that. You really upset the fish, stress them out, and destroy the good bacteria that you have set up. So you never change the whole tank of water. They really, don't even recommend that you change 50% of it. Just I change about 25 or 30%, just enough to keep it clean and pure. And guys, it'll take you a while to understand, you know, why things work the way they do, what we mean by all this. Okay. And so, all right, let's move on. So, ammonia poisoning. The day he had ammonia poisoning, well, how could I tell? My damn fish was just acting freaking weird. That's how I could tell. And I started crying. I knew something was wrong with him. He was kind of lethargic, floating around the top. You'll get to know your fish. Usually these fish are active, just like this. Active, curious, wonderful, and you'll know when something is wrong. But we're not doctors, we're not fish doctors, and we won't know exactly what it is. Anyway, he was lethargic. His little fins and stuff were kind of just stuck together. His body language was off. It seemed like he might have been kind of gasping. And, being so novice, I did not take immediate action in the first minute. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if I was still learning about ammonia. I was thinking I was doing the right thing. I was thinking his tank was okay. I didn't know what to do. I started crying. A lot of people have let their fish die just like that, thinking, okay, it's over. I've done all I can. I've killed the fish. I don't know what action to take. But listen, guys, a lot of the time it is just simple ammonia overload. Your tank water has gotten imbalanced, and you can save your fish. The first thing you need to do if you feel like your tank is imbalanced and your fish has got ammonia poisoning or toxicity, get the damn fish out of the water. Keep one of these on backup. Go and fill it up with water. Absolutely, you must treat it. Don't forget to treat it. Take the damn chlorine out of the water. Put a little bit of prime or any other dechlorinating solution and prepare you a backup. And get that fish out of that water. Scoop him out, whatever you have to do. Toss him over here into the dechlorinated hospital tank, okay? That's what you're going to do with ammonia poisoning. Get it out of the water so it can breathe. And it might take him a couple hours or more in the hospital tank. Sometimes you have to leave them in there a day. But for the most part, mine snapped out of it. They will generally come around and start feeling better, while you are going to figure out what's wrong with your main tank. You're going to clean it. You're going to, do a huge water change at that point. If you do think your regular maintenance, you don't have to do huge water changes. I wouldn't even recommend them. But if you think your fish has got ammonia poisoning, yes, you're going to do at least a 50 or 60% water change. You're going to take most of that damn water out of there while he's in the hospital tank. And you're going to fill it back up with properly treated, balanced water. I use Prime. It's great. Take the chlorine out. Kills ammonia, everything like that. And I use Stability. A little bit of, it just basically helps keep the good bacteria in. I use a little bit of that every water change, okay? And that's what you're going to do. Also, do your research and listen to other people. Do a lot of research about ammonia poisoning and what to do just in case. But if you're in a damn 911, get that fish out of that water. Get him in some dechlorinated hospital tank water and leave him there for a while. And I know people are like, oh God, but the temperature might kill him. And oh, should I even try to do anything because I might make it worse? It's worth trying. And I always worried about that too. Oh God, the water temperature's not right. It's going to shock him. It's not exactly the same as this and that and the other. Listen, they're tougher than you think. Okay? So that's what we did with ammonia poisoning. And until you're sure that you've got your tank under control and you know what you're doing, you feel secure about it, keep these on hand. In fact, keep them on hand all the time just in case, so that you can feel some peace of mind And if you see the ammonia starting to rise in your tank, go ahead and do a water change, a light water change, or take your sponge filter out, squeeze it in some old tank water. You're not ever going to want to clean that sponge completely. You will kill all of your good bacteria. But squeeze it out gently in some old fish water and get most of the debris off of it and then put it back in. Okay? We'll do a video another day about that. But yeah, so that's ammonia poisoning. You're just going to want to act quickly, hospital tank, do some cleaning, water changing, get your tank fixed up again. And I did a lot of praying too. It never hurts to send the fish good energy. But it always worked out for me, and I don't know, maybe I just got lucky, but those methods worked for me. After he was in the hospital tank a while, and I did a nice big water change on his main tank, cleaned a few things up, siphoned up all the mess, whatever was going on, he usually did fine when I put him back in. It was just the water had gotten overloaded, and that can happen, especially if you have more than one fish in there. That's going to matter. The size of your tank and how many livestock you have in there. So the more livestock you have in a small tank, the more the bio load is going to overwhelm your fish. They're going to poop and pee, and you're going to need to clean it a lot more frequently. So that is something to think about. All right, guys, the second thing that we went through is bacterial infection. Oh my God, it was hell. Again, I showed you guys what I changed my water with, what I treat it with. And this is also how I do my water changes. This is not only how I clean and siphon the bottom of my tank, but that's how I do my water changes too. I don't have any big fancy pumps or anything like that. I just fill this up with the good treated water, siphon out the old water with that thing, how much I want to dump it, fill this up, treat it, and squirt it back in slowly, because you don't want to throw sand up everywhere and stir up debris. I slowly squirt the new water back in, and yes, it takes some time, but that's okay. That's just my method. And you guys, I'm getting up to the 30-minute mark. I'm at 27 minutes, and I'd like to keep this video under 30 minutes. And so I think I'm going to come back in a part 3, and that is where we're going to discuss the bacterial infections and what we had and the medications that I ended up having to use and what we went through for an entire month with a bacterial infection. Oh my God, what his symptoms were. We ended up doing salt baths, and we went through a lot. So I'm going to get my documentation out, and I will give y'all all the details of what we went through with that in the next video. But so far, this is pretty much it for this video. I've showed y'all what I treat the water with. Stress Guard is also another good product to have on hand. I wouldn't put it in like right after you change water, because too many processes at once can lower the oxygen level. But this is a good thing to have if your fish is a bit stressed. You just want to calm them down, or if they're having tearing fins or they've gotten wounded in some way. For small minor injuries, it's kind of an antiseptic, and it promotes healing and kind of keeps them calm. These are all good products to have on hand, guys, as you can afford it. And having these antibiotics before they get an infection is always a good practice. I did not have them when he got an infection. I had to wait for them, but I have them now, and I keep them on hand. So okay, guys, I think that's about it for this first video. And like I say, I will come back in part 3, and we're going to discuss a little bit more about, of course, the bacterial infection, the treatment, what to look for, and we'll talk a little bit more about tank cleaning, bio load, keeping it balanced, and cleaning that sponge filter properly so you don't disturb the good bacteria. But I appreciate you guys for watching, and have a good one.